Part 2, Chapter 3. I hadn't forgotten Jimmy, but I'd given up on him. Given up on him like you give up on a twisting foul ball down the line that you know you can never reach no matter how hard you run. Jimmy lived in Belmont. I lived in Redwood City, 8 miles, but he might as well have lived on the moon. Then, right before Babe Ruth was ready to start up again, I got a phone call. "This is Jimmy Winter," he said. "Remember me?" For a moment I was speechless. I absolutely couldn't make a word come out of my mouth. "Seth, are you there?" "Yeah, Jimmy," I said finally, "I'm here." "Listen, how would you like to play on the Belmont Braves this year?" My head was spinning. I was so excited to hear his voice, I could barely follow what he was saying. "Who wouldn't?" I finally stammered. "Here's all you have to do. Come to Belmont High Saturday and pick up a registration form. But instead of putting your address down, put my grandparents' address. Have your mother sign it and mail it in." I tried to think. The whole conversation was so fast, so unexpected. "Won't someone notice we don't have the same last name?" He snickered at that. "Nobody checks. Half the guys on the team don't live in Belmont." "Really?" "I'm not kidding." After I hung up, I headed straight into the living room and told my mother about Jimmy's plan. When I finished, she looked at me quizzically. "Run that by me again," she said. I went through it more slowly. As I spoke, her face soured. "Wouldn't you call that cheating?" she asked. "Not exactly." "What would you call it?" "It's just bending the rules." She took a deep breath. "Seth, let me tell you a story about your father. The first week we moved into this house, Mr. Monglin invited him to play golf. He said he had a good time, but when Mr. Monglin wanted to play again, your father wouldn't go. I asked him why. It turned out your father had seen Mr. Monglin kick his golf ball out from behind a tree. No big deal, really, just kind of bending the rules. But it was enough to keep your father from ever playing with him." "Oh, Mom," I said, "this is She cut me off. "Is it, Seth?" When I called Jimmy back, he got angry. "Did you tell your mother lots of guys do this?" "Yeah, sure. I told her everything. Look, it's hopeless. I know my mother. She won't give in." There was a long pause. "Your mother is a total bitch," Jimmy finally said. I flushed all over, then went icy cold. I knew I should have made him take it back, but I didn't. I talked to him a few more minutes before hanging up. That phone call happened more than 3 years ago. Some things you try to remember. The harder you try, the more impossible it becomes. And then there are things you want to forget, like that phone call, and they never go away.